Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. We can start with the Gita Dhyanam. Unmute, please.
पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमणिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीमष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे उल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारणीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणरदैकैवर्तककेशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथासम्बोधनाबोधितम् लोके सज्जन षट्पदैर्हरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद् भारत पंकजं कलिमलप्रध्वंसिनः श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतस्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततत्त्वतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुरासुरगणादेवाय तस्मै नमः। Sir, good. In this, I just want to ask a question regarding the chanda that is there. See, like Mukam, Karoti, Vachalam, that is Anushtup chanda, right? What is Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudramartastunvanti Divyaistavai?
I will have to check, but if I remember vaguely, it is called the Srihari Chanda.
Srihari.
But I will have to check and let you know.
Okay.
All the other three, all of them, that is Bhishma, Drona, Parasharya, Brahma, they are all three of the same chandas.
Yeah, and that same thing also inside the chapters, it comes periodically.
No, there it is the Indrakshi Chanda.
Oh, that's a different chanda.
That is a completely different chanda. It's Indrakshi Chanda.
Okay.
So Vasamsi Jirnani, for example.
Yeah.
So that is Indrakshi Chanda.
Oh, okay.
So Indrakshi is used by Krishna only whenever he's wanting to make a sudden important point. No? He suddenly changes the chanda. So those chandas which are wherever you will find that he has changed to Indrakshi, you will find that he has made a point which can be possibly a sort of summary of the area of context of whatever was being discussed at that point of time. Okay. So firstly, I have to appreciate you have been practicing the Gita Dhyanam. It was evident. The flow was far more easier than it was used to be earlier. So I assume that you have been reading and practicing, so which is good. Pravadan Mananan
and missing the classes. I'm going to say that, missing the classes.
So okay. Today, what we will do is we will just restart chapter 8 quickly and do a revision of verses number 1 to 10, 1 to 9. So let's start to that. So chapter 8, Atha Ashtamodhyayah Akshara Brahma Yogaha. Verse 1. Arjuna Uvacha Kim tad Brahma Kim Adhyatmam Kim Karma Purushottama Adhibhutam cha Kim Proktam Adhidaivam Kim Uchyate Adhiyagya Katham Kotra Dehesmin Madhusudana Prayani Kale cha Katham Gneyosi Nitya Niyatatmibhihi. Arjuna has now started asking very, very important questions, and he is referring to the last verses of chapter 7, where Bhagavan Sri Krishna has raised topics or thoughts or sort of terms: Adhyatma, Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva, Adhiyagya, right? And there are these 4 types of things. And then he has also asked, what is karma? He says, what is karma? So he has asked these very important questions in chapter verses 1 and 2. Let us move to Sri Krishna's answer. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhavodhyatmam Nuchyate Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaro Visarga Karma Sanjitaha. Aksharam indestructible. Akshara. Kshara means that which gets eroded. So kshay. From that also the word we get kshay. For that matter, the interesting term for the razor is called kshura. Kshura, that which erodes. So it shaves off. So it erodes. So the kshura. So from there in Bengali, directly the ksha has become kha. So it is called khur. So the razor is called khur. So we have interesting semantics that we can see. So akshara, that which does not erode, that which does not is indestructible. Brahma, Brahman, Paramam, supreme, Swabhava, Swabhava is nature, Adhyatmam of one's own self, Uchyate is called. So he says that one's own nature is called Adhyatma. Brahman and one's own nature is the same. And that is why he says Akshara Brahma Paramam Swabhava, my own nature, Adhyatmam Uchyate. Bhuta Bhavod Bhavakara. So Bhuta Bhava Udbhava Karaha. That which is actions relating to the material part of our existing, our development. Bhuta Bhava Udbhava Kara Visarga. Visarga is creation. Sarga is creation. Visarga, Vishesha Sarga, creation. Karma Sanjitaha. These are all called karma. Anything relating to the material world in which there is action is called karma. So he answered 2 things. Adhyatma. Adhi Atman. That which is your essential nature. Now, our problem is that our essential nature is hidden and it is covered by a sheath of multiple layers of vasanas. And that is what causes all the problems. You see, there are 3 types of... Why do we say Shanti, Shanti, Shanti 3 times? Meena ji, Lita ji, why do we say Shanti, Shanti, Shanti? अरे एक बार शांति बोलो तो वो इनफ है ना.
Same reason. Adhyatmic, Adi Bhautik, and Adi Devik.
So basically, there are 3 types of problems that can happen as far as when you are conscious of your body, mind, intellect. You are identified with your body,
Yes.
mind, intellect. What are the three? One is called Adhidaivik. Deva means forces of nature. So anything that you have no control over, you have identification with, but you have no control over, can happen to you. And this is called Adhidaivik Tapa. Tapatraya. These three are called Tapatraya. So Tapa, for example, we have this city called Latur, and suddenly there was a huge, or Bhuj, there was a huge earthquake and the entire city got destroyed. Are we going to say that, oh, people over there had bad karma, so they got destroyed? Everybody had the same karma, everybody got destroyed by that. No, this was Adhidaivik. Adhidaivik occurrences, and our identification with our body, mind, intellect causes us to correlate this to various factors and makes us gets us into trouble. Adhidaivik. Adhibhautik. Things around us, living things around us can cause problems. Bhuta here does not mean the Panchabhuta. That has been taken care of in the Adhidaivik. The living things around us. There is a very recent incident that happened right on our street in front of us. There was this boy who was riding on a motorcycle and he yawned. Now, as he yawned, a bee went into his mouth and it stung him because it went inside, it reacted and it stung him in the throat, inside. His throat swelled up. Before he could be taken to the hospital, he suffocated and died. Now, what do you call this? This is not about karma. This is Adi Bhautik Tapa. And then there is Adhyatmik Tapa. Tapa coming from Adi Atman, from my own nature. Now, my own nature also has two types of distinctions. Adi Dehik, from the body. So I have asthma, I have bad knees, I cannot sit down on the floor, I have diabetes, etc., etc. What are you doing? You have identified with all those diseases, all those troubles, and therefore you are suffering from Adhidehik. And the second is the Antakarana, the Manas, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahamkara. These are also resulting in all of these troubles. These are the four types of troubles. Your actual nature, as described in Srimad Bhagavad Geeta, is that you have to penetrate through the sheath of vasanas and actually look at what is your swabhava. And your swabhava is Akshara and Brahman. Akshara Brahman. That is your swabhava. And anything else that is happening is all in the material world and is called karma. Let us look at verse number 4. Adibhutam ksharo bhavaha purushascha adidaivatam adhiyagyo hame vatra dehe deha bhritambara. Adibhutam ksharo bhava, the ever-changing physical manifestation. Adibhutam, bhuta, is all this entire living beings, all this physical manifestation of whatever is there is continuously changing. Even while as I speak with you, there have been certain changes in me, right? Certain millions of cells from my body have died and have passed on into my bloodstream. They have gone from the bloodstream into the kidneys and so on and so forth. Some millions of new cells have been born. I am continuously changing. Remember, I have not changed. I have not changed. Because that sense of I in me. Now, just now, for example, a set of million cells has just died. And a set of million cells has been born. See, in our Srimad Bhagavad Puran, it says very beautifully, how is creation happening? Creation happens because Mahavishnu lays down on the Kshira Sagar and he breathes out and millions of universes come out. And he breathes in, millions of universes go inside his body. That is exactly what you are doing. You are Mahavishnu, breathing in and breathing out. You are creating billions of universes for those small cells, unicellular organisms, who are also getting absorbed when you are breathing in. This continuous process of change that is happening in front of a certain consciousness which is penetrating through this. So Adibhutam Sharabhava, Sharaha, perishable. That is its nature. Adibhutam, its essential nature. Purusha, that which is the consciousness that pervades this entire universe is the Adhidaivatam. Now, please remember here, very important, the Tapatraya definition of the Adhibhutam, Adhidaivam, Adhidaivik and Adhyatmik is different from the Bhagavad Gita definition. They are two different, and you have to remember that. Don't get confused. So here, Purushascha Adhidaivam, that essential consciousness in the Saguna Brahma which permeates this entire universe, that cosmic personality, whatever in form you want to call it, whether you call it Krishna, Shiva, Rudra, Devi, whatever is the name that you want to call it, that cosmic personality which is permeating in the form of consciousness, that is Purusha. Adhiyagya, the next he says, Adhiyagya. I, Aham, Eva, certainly, Atra, here, in the body, I am the Lord of all sacrifices. Deha Bhritam, which means that same consciousness which is permeating this entire universe exists within us as the Adhiyagya. I am the consciousness within you also. Adhidaiva, Adhiyagya are the two things at the cosmic level and at the microcosmic level and the macrocosmic level. So these two he describes and he tells Arjuna, this is how you have to understand these terms. Obviously, the rest of it will be explanations. There is one more question that he asked, very important question. What happened? What do I supposed to do at the time of death? We have all seen the story of Ajamila. So here he says, Antakale cha mameva Maranukva kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayaha antakale cha mameva eva, third, alone, me alone. Now, we have gone through this many times. It says, remember me at the time of your death. Remember me at the time of your death. How can I remember you at the time of your death if I have not remembered you whenever other things were happening? How our habits are. Have I told the story of the person who climbed the coconut tree? Right? The person who climbed the coconut tree. So when he fell, what did he say? He said, Ayo! If he had said Amma Devi would have come. If he had said Appa Shiva would have come. Neither of them came because his habit says Ayo. In our culture, we used to actually be taught to do this. My grandfather, whenever he would sneeze, he would say Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Right? Whenever he would get up, he would say Hare Krishna. Right? You get up from the chair, he say Hare Krishna. Sit down on the chair, say Hare Krishna. Now, every action, when you are continuously remembering, then when the prayana kale, when that time happens, your mind has been already trained to go there. Yaprayati, right? When it goes, the madbhavam, it will go to, see, we have seen the story of Jadabharat also. Great munis, great rishis, even they fall into the delusion of attraction, of attachment. And what was he remembering at the time of his death? He was remembering his own deer. He becomes a deer. Now, did he actually, whether Jadabharat actually existed, whether he actually became a deer, it's a lesson. It's a story that we have to understand as a lesson for us. That even somebody who is a great rishi like Jadabharat, who was on that verge of getting freed, has to go through these cycles. Yes, please.
So this is one aspect that during my Manana I was getting a little, how do you say, perplexed. You see, no, I understand that at the moment of birth, that's when I say birth, I'm talking about conception actually, when the identity is latched on to that body, mind, intellect. Okay, that's a moment of flux. I agree. And at the same time, the moment of death is a moment of flux. It's like Eckhart Tolle says, death is a stripping away of everything that you're not. Right? So I understand that's a moment of flux, and obviously at the moment of flux, which is a discontinuity, things can happen in a different way. I understand that. Okay. But is it material? Is it material? When in reality, you are Parabrahman, and you have, if your efforts are always to recognize that, death, like Eckhart says, the trick is in dying before you die. To strip away what is not you and merge with what is you, and then it doesn't matter whether the body is dead or body is not dead. That is immaterial. Like Shankaracharya said, I don't care, you take my body, so it is no longer material. So I just get a bit perplexed. Why, in the midst of such a profound piece of work, Vedavyasa felt the need to indulge in these sort of banal pursuits?
Okay, so we have to understand mukti. There are three different types of, actually, I mean, very difficult to put it in those words, but three different types of muktis. One is called Jivan Mukti, which is what we are all striving for. We have also seen earlier that in that journey, I may not be successful in this life itself. Right? So what happens to me? Oh, I will come back, but I will come back in a particular, because my vasanas have been now oriented towards that. I will come back into a house of a sadhu or a house where there is material prosperity, so that I am not bound by the fact that, oh, I have to go and do the field work every day, or I have to go and bring water. So I get to a point where I can be freed from that and I can sit down and meditate. That process, going step by step, even after the death also, there are certain, and we will see that in the Bhagavad Gita itself, that you don't come back as a physical entity. You come back as a energy entity. Right? And such people, they are called Krama Mukti. So Krama Mukti, so he goes from here to Pitruloka, does a bit of sadhana in Pitruloka, then goes to Indraloka, continues his sadhana, goes to Brahmaloka, continues his sadhana, goes to Vaikuntha, continues his sadhana, goes to crosses. That's called a Krama Mukti. Now, Vedavyasa very clearly knows that everybody is not going to become Jivan Mukta in this life here and now. So, what happens if I don't know what is going to happen to me, and I don't know when I'm going to die? So where should your thoughts be? That is the question, that is the answer that Vedavyasa is trying to give us. It is not about the fact that, yes, I am Brahman and therefore I have become Brahman. The point is we are not. Okay, so very interestingly, in this particular yatra, when we were going, one of the fellow yatris, he was very enamored of and that is the exact word I don't want to use. He was very enamored of the term Aham Brahmasmi. So he asked one of the sadhus who we met, where we did a specific ritual. We sat down, we did a ritual. There was a Sphatika linga, not a linga, it was actually a Sphatika Devi Yantra. And on top of that, or above that, there is also a proper Meru in the Panchaloha form. So we did the Aarti and we sang and all that, and some mantras were recited. And then this person, and during the satsang, said that if I am Brahman, then why do I need to do all these rituals? If I am Brahman, why do I need to do all these rituals? Can you please explain? And the sadhu said, this is a wrong question, because you don't know me, you don't know what my level is, nor do I know you, and I don't know what your level is. So therefore, for me to be able to answer your question, that why do we have to do this, is because you have to first understand where are you. And if you are still identified with your body, mind and intellect, yes, all these rituals are important and they have certain role to play in your progress. Beyond that, I will not answer. That's the important aspect here. That Vedavyasa also understands that we are all of different categories on different steps in the ladder. Again, we are also moving differently. Some of us are going slowly, some of us are going fast, some of us are running around here and there, trying to move from one ladder to the other. So, because of that, he says, we don't know when you are going to die. Prayana kale, yes, that is you have to keep that thought. To keep that thought at the time of physical death, you will have to have it in the normal death, which means what? To be able to continuously be contemplating Aham Brahmasmi, your mind has already got control, isn't it? Which is why he says in this particular shloka, what does he say? He says very clearly in the last line, what does he say? That Saprayati samadbhava yati nastyatra samshaya. Why? Because he's already reached there. He has already reached there. So to move on to verse number 6. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajyat tyajyatyante kalevaram tam tameveti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. Sorry, that yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajyatyante kalevaram tam veti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. This we have already looked at. We looked at the concept of Jada Bharata. We have seen how people, and I always use my example of the cat in our house. So the whole purpose of where I am and what I am wanting to do. My son was asking the cat, you have come here only to be fondled, is it? You have no other work to do? So, I mean, he was obviously playing the fool with him. But the point is, that's exactly his life, isn't it? Now, that vasana of wanting to be fondled, not having to do any work for this food, and even the food is all processed food in the sense, since we don't eat fish or meat at home, he is given the processed pet food that we have to buy from the market. So this is all, he doesn't have to go and hunt for his food. And we live in an apartment, so he can't go outside. So he is very well inside the apartment and he is very happy. Where did this come from? It's a vasana. Is there any difference between him and me? No. Between that cat and I, there is no difference. At the Vyavaharika level, yes, of course, there is difference. But at the Paramarthika level, there is no difference. But that Vyavaharika difference is very important because I identify with this particular form. Oh, I am seeing, oh, myself. See, this is me. This is me. I am wearing a shirt. I am wearing glasses. Right? So therefore here he says, whatever you think of, you will become. The Thakur used to say, see, when the caterpillar, it becomes a pupa, it thinks of being a butterfly. And it meditates on being a butterfly. And therefore, when it comes out, it becomes a butterfly. So whether it actually does that or not, we don't know. But the point is that he's using such day-to-day life examples of how the transformation happens. And that's an evolutionary process, that's a biological process, all that. The same process applies to the mind. What you want to evolve into is what you will go into. Now, if my vasanas are so strong that they cannot be overcome, then I am a Ravana. I am a Hiranyakashipa. I am a Hiranyaksha. I have Brahma standing in front of me. I have Shiva standing in front of me. And instead of saying, take me, put me on your lap and make me yours, if I am a Bhakta, or take me and dissolve me, if I am an Advaiti. Instead of that, what do? Oh, I need to get my 10 heads back. I need to have power. I need to have undefeated, this, that. All of these we start asking. Why? Because of the vasanas. So that process of dissolution is what is being referred here. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhya cha tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhya cha mayarpitamano buddhir mam eveshyasya sanshayam mam eveshyasya asamshayam. So he says that tasmat sarveshu kaleshu, in all times, mam anusmara yudhyacha, fight in this world. Go out and do your battle. Go to the office. Go and work with your clients. Go and work in your school. Go and work in your house. All the time thinking of me. Mai arpita manah buddhi. Your mind and intellect completely surrendered unto me. Which means there is nothing else that comes into my mind. Eva eshyasi asamshayah. Eva eshyasi asamshayam. He says, you will attain certainly. I was asked, is this even possible? How can I continuously remember him? Maybe you can't, but you can try. But let me give an example where we have seen people do that. When Meenaji's children were 2 months old and 3 months old, and her maternity leave got over, and she had to go to school, and she was teaching, Meenaji, where was your mind?
In the house, the child.
That's it, no? You have done it yourself. You that time did it out of attachment to a particular name and a form. Change that name and form and call it Krishna, call it Devi, call it Shiva, call it whatever. And that is the growth. We have all seen this happen. Men, possibly we have not had the opportunity to have that sort of a, but even we, at least partially, when you have left your newborn child and you have gone off to the office, every time there is a gap there in your work, where has your mind drifted off to? Back home. What is that baby doing? What is it thinking? What is it doing? Is it turning around? We do that all the time. So here Krishna is not putting down as something that is very different. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. And yet, when we are in the office, what are we doing? Oh, we are doing all the work. And काम का क्वालिटी खराब हुआ था क्या? नहीं. काम का क्वालिटी उतना ही रहा था. How did that happen? मन नहीं लगाया, बुद्धि नहीं लगाया, काम हो गया ना. काम का quality did not suffer, the dedication did not suffer, the commitment did not suffer, but the mind and the intellect were placed in some other place. This is what we have already done. We have done this. We have practiced this. All we need to do is change that focus of attention to the Supreme. To verse number 8. Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanya paramam purusham divyam yati partham anuchintayan. Abhyasa yoga yuktena. So Abhyasa yoga, practice. He says, start practicing. Start practicing. So this is anything we do. Anything we do. We need to start with the process of saying we commit to the teacher. And the teacher has told us, so, okay, you go to the gym. And you go to the gym and the trainer tells you that you have to lift your dumbbell or barbell or whatever. And I want you to extend your hand right till as long as it can go. Why do I have to do that? I need to bring it from here, and then it's not going to work, right? So at the physical level, you have to give up to the expertise of that particular guide. At the mental level, you also go and say, somebody is telling you at the intellectual level, okay, I need you to start studying, and you need to say that you have to understand that 2 times 2 is equal to 4. And he then, once you have understood 2 times 2 is equal to 4, then he explains the concept. You learn the tables first. 19 tens are 190. I learnt it first. Then later on, you understood it was 10 times. I added up 19 and therefore, and so on and so forth. Same way here, at the spiritual level, all that we need to do is to sit down for 5 minutes. Now, you keep on saying that. Now, until it is done first, oh, what will I get? Nothing. Nothing. You will learn to sit. Today, you don't have the ability to even sit. So, you learn to sit. Then I will go and ask you to do something else maybe. But unless that Abhyasa Yoga has not happened, so Abhyasa Yoga here indicates, and Gurudev in his book also says the same thing, says that Abhyasa Yoga indicates that the Abhyasa has been given to you by the teacher. And that Abhyasa has been dedicatedly followed by you. And here there are 3 formulas for success. Three steps or 3 parts to success. It's called sufficiency, proficiency, consistency. Am I doing enough of it? Am I doing it properly? And am I doing it regularly? If I'm doing all 3 of this, success will happen. Maybe slower for some, maybe faster for some. Why? Because possibly the layers of vasanas that I am carrying are far more thicker than yours. So for me, I have to rub more. I have to get more steel wool. For somebody else, that just the ashes is good enough. For somebody else, just the nimbu lemon juice is good enough. It will depend upon our layers of asanas. So here he says, Abhyasa yogena yuktena chetasa nanya gamina, without deviating. Paramam purusham divyam yati. Yati means reaches, attains. He reaches the divine. He becomes the divine. By the continuous remembrance, anuchintayan, by the continuous remembrance of the divine. Then here is the Indrakshi, this thing, Chandas. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Manoraniyam Sumanusmaredya Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. This is so beautiful. Krishna realizes that if he tells us, you have to remember me all the time, what am I supposed to remember? Because my mind is not used to, it cannot think of something which has no form or no name. Right? At least it has to have a name. So air. When I tell you air, yes, you can imagine the air. Because you can imagine the sensation that it can cause on your hair, skin, and so on and so forth. But so it has no form, but it has a name. So when I give you something to think of and I ask you to remember it, I know that you will not be able to remember it, and therefore let me tell you how to remember it. And here he very beautifully describes it as says, Kavi here means a poet, but a poet actually not a poet, but persons who are saints, the Rishis, because they have Kalpana. So Kavim Puranam in the ancient, Anushasitaram, looked at this particular thing that you have to do, Anusmaran on, as the controller. Anoraniyam, smaller than the smallest. This is directly taken from the Upanishads. Anoraniyam, Anusmaret, always remembering. Yah, who Sarvasya Dhataram, he is the support of everything. He cannot be conceived by your mind. So you start forgetting, getting stuck with those forms. So go beyond. And has a Divya Rupam, Achintya Rupam. But yet there is a glow. So at least you can concentrate on that glow. Aditya Varnam, effulgent like the sun. Tamasa Parastat, beyond the ignorance of the darkness of ignorance. What is this darkness of ignorance? Tamas. Tamas, the darkness of ignorance. The ignorance that I am the body, I am the mind, I am the intellect. It is beyond that. It glows eternally. And that is something that you hold into your mind and you think of. That is why he says this. Then he carries on by saying, Prayana kale manasachalena bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva bhruvor madhye pranamaveshya samyak tatam param purushamupaiti divyam. And here now he gave so not only does he tell us, so what did Krishna do up to verse 10? If you understand what we have done, he first took some terms, he explained those terms. Then having explained those terms, he says, now this is what I want you to do. I want you to concentrate. Having understood the fact of concentration, he says, what do you need to concentrate on? Verse number 9, he tells you what you have to concentrate on. And then he tells you in verse number 10, how to concentrate. Right? Your concentration, when you sit down in a particular place, it is in the center. Otherwise, it is continuous. So for Gurudev used to say, 5 minutes. Sit for 5 minutes. Out of that 5 minutes, come back and tell me whether for 5 seconds you could be thoughtless. That is enough for me. And after that, for the rest of the 24 hours and 55 minutes, 23 hours and 55 minutes, all I want you to do is to remember that particular moment. To do all your activity and remember that 5 seconds. That's all that you need to do. But for that, sit for 5 minutes, sit for 15 minutes, whatever it requires to get that 5 seconds. So that's a revision for up to verse 10. And then we move on from there to verse number 11 from the next class onwards. Yes, Raghuji?
Yeah, I was eagerly waiting for the day because there he says, I'm going to declare to you what is this, and then in the next few verses it's going to be that, and you dangle it like a carrot, and you don't give it to us.
So it's because he's changing his thought over there, so that's why I don't want to go there right now. So thoda sa 1 to 10 ka manan kar lijiye, and then we will start off with 11 from the next step. And Aparokshanubhuti will continue from tomorrow. Obviously, I will put it on the group also.
Next 2 weekends, I'm now in Pune, but I'll be back in Abu Dhabi, so I'll be able to attend next 2 weekends. But the third weekend, end of November, I'll be sitting in Punjab at a wedding, so I will not be able to attend. So I was,
recordings.
I'm getting worried. Of course, the recording, I'll take it and I'll review it.
Yes.
But I'm just getting anxious. We have to get moving. I want to get more of this.
I have a little doubt.
Yes, please.
Why are these same terms or words used with different meanings in different places? It gets so it muddles, it confuses. For example, here in this all these Adidevic, the Tapatrayas kind of thing, but here it's totally opposite meaning, right?
Not opposite meaning, but different meanings. Yes. But see, if you get stuck with grammar and meanings, then you will always be stuck. So therefore, remember Vajagovindam and say, Nahi nahi rakshati dukrin karane. So don't get stuck with that stuff. Get into the contextual meaning. Aja Srishti Karta. What does Aja mean?
Bakri.
Bakri. Very good.
Yeah. Yes.
So Bakri Srishti Karta. Brahma ji kaun hai? Brahma ji Bakri hai. So contextually, if I don't understand, I will obviously have such confusions. So you have to understand the context and leave the technical grammar away. Don't worry about the grammar. We are not here to become grammar pandits. Our aim is to get moksha.
Yes. So here now, could you just say again in short? I'm still little unclear about it. The Tapatraya is clear. Now here in this
I will request you to do Manan. So first re-listen to this particular video recording, and then If you have any questions after the
yes,
Manan,
yes.
then it will be
Correct,
better.
correct. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, correct.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Dhanyavada.